Roman Reigns, your tribal chief, the head of the table, is going on 3 years as your world champion. And in that 3 years, he's had some fantastic title defenses and some stinkers. Now today we're gonna look at the premium live event title defenses that he's had, and we're gonna rank all of them from head of the table all the way down to the ocean of obscurity. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm very confident that you're gonna like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content, so go ahead and subscribe. All right, let's look at our Roman Reigns related tiers for today. We have head of the table, island of relevancy, Usi, not very Usi, and ocean of obscurity. Let's go ahead and get started with Roman Reigns' first title defense as the WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at Clash of Champions. And this is arguably Roman Reigns' most important match ever, because this is the match that truly genuinely kicked off the tribal chief persona and got the bloodline storyline started, a storyline that would define WWE television for the next 3 years. And the match itself is fantastic. It made a star out of Jey Uso. This is where the term main event Jey came from. It demonstrated Roman's newfound brutality since coming back from hiatus and winning the Universal Championship. These two had fantastic chemistry in the ring, but also their in-ring psychology together was out of this world. It told a beautiful and chaotic story. It is a match that I highly recommend people to go back and rewatch. But again, one of Roman Reigns' most important matches of his career, and this instantly goes to the head of the table. And next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at Hell in a Cell. And I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of this match, and I do think that the Hell in a Cell was necessary in terms of continuing to tell that storyline of brutality, but I do feel like the cell hindered them quite a bit. One of the other things that I'll mention, which is something that I forgot to mention with the Clash of Champions match, is that this was in the Thunderdome, so no fans, which is an absolute shame that this feud was being brought to us without a single person in the stands to see this. Either way, I digress. The Hell in a Cell match is nowhere near as good as the Clash of Champions match, but it's not bad. It is a good match to go back and watch. I do think that towards the end, it gets a little bit overbooked for the sake of telling that bloodline storyline with Jimmy coming out to throw in the towel and end the match. So I'm going with Usi. Next up, we have a really fun title defense. In my opinion, the best Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens match between Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at TLC in 2020. Honestly, in my opinion, this is peak Kevin Owens. I don't think that he's looked as good ever since this match when it comes to singles competition. I will say this is the start of when the bloodline starts to get really involved in helping Roman Reigns wins. And this is a rare occasion where Roman Reigns felt like he was kind of getting his ass kicked throughout the entire match. And if it wasn't for Jey Uso, he wouldn't have won this. And of course, the Jey Uso involvement is even that more extra special at this time because they just come out of a blood feud and Jey Uso had just fallen in line. The storyline that it told was great. The match was fantastic. This goes into Island of Relevancy. Next up, we have Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, again for the Universal Championship, this time in a last man standing match at the Royal Rumble 2021. This was a weird match and not one of my favorite ones, and I think this is a situation where the last man standing stipulation kind of ruined the mojo and the magic that these two clearly had at TLC. If you remember, this is the match that had this like weird kind of botch or snafu where Roman Reigns was handcuffed to something. I can't remember what it was, like a metal pole or something, and Paul Heyman wasn't able to get the keys to work. So clearly Roman Reigns should have been counted to the 10 in terms of the last man standing match, but the ref wasn't counting. It was weird. It was bizarre, and they should have just done a more traditional last man standing match instead of trying to get cute with the handcuffs. This goes into, me personally, not very Usi. Then next up, we have a match that a lot of people forget about because it wasn't really a proper match. It was Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, and this happened immediately after Daniel Bryan won at Elimination Chamber, and rather than getting a title shot somewhere down the line, the title shot happened like immediately right after the Elimination Chamber match. So it was ultimately a squash match, really. early for Roman Reigns to get in, do the job for a couple of minutes, beat Bryan and get out. Although it was fun for a second when Daniel Bryan was able to instantly counter the spear into the yes lock, but still, this isn't really properly a match to count, but it's in here, and it was at a PLE, and it was a title defense, so we'll put it in ocean of obscurity. But then the real Daniel Bryan matches start, because next we have Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at Fastlane. And it's a shame that I actually don't have the best Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan match in here, which is the one that they had on SmackDown shortly after WrestleMania, but that's not a PLE, so it doesn't count. So we have Fastlane between these two, and this was good. It was a very, very good match. Daniel Bryan tapped out Roman Reigns, but of course, the ref wasn't there to see it. Of course, bloodline shenanigans causing Daniel Bryan to lose. You're gonna see a common trend moving forward that Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso start to get involved and cause the opponents of the tribal chief to lose. But this was a really, really fun one because Daniel Bryan always seems to get the best out of Roman Reigns when it comes to in-ring skill. I don't think anyone else is able to get as good as an in-ring match out of Roman Reigns as Daniel Bryan is able to, and I think this is a really great example. I think for me, this goes into the island of relevancy. And next up, we have one of my personal favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. We have Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match for the Universal Championship in the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania 37, which is the WrestleMania right after the pandemic. We had about half a stadium full, but it was nice to see fans back. In this match, dude, it had it all. It had drama, it had intrigue, it had Edge's ruthlessness, it had Daniel Bryan's technical prowess, it had Roman Reigns' ability to tell a fantastic in-ring story, and of course, we had the bloodline getting involved to help him win. This is kind of the start where people were like, oh my God, Roman Reigns can't win a match unless the bloodline gets involved. And it starts to get quite a bit worse throughout the rest of the matches over the years. But this match to me was fantastic. It was so incredibly fun. It was high adrenaline. It was a lot of 2.999 counts. Yeah, this is the match where a lot of people felt like Roman should have lost to Edge. In hindsight, I'm glad that he didn't, because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten the rest of the classics that we're going to have here moving forward. But to me, this match was fantastic. This goes to the head of the table. Next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Cesaro at Backlash, again for the Universal Championship. This was an exciting time as a wrestling fan because Cesaro was finally getting his just desserts. He's finally getting a chance at the World Championship, something that we've been begging for and clamoring for years, for Cesaro to be given a chance to grab that brass ring that Vince McMahon often talks about. And I think he did grab the brass ring because it was a fantastic match that, again, like classic Roman Reigns matches, starts to get a little bit overbooked at the end, this time with Seth Rollins. But either way, this is one of Roman Reigns' more technical matches, and it was a tremendous amount of fun. Cesaro looked fantastic here. It's a shame that we lost Cesaro out of the WWE a few months shortly after this. Either way, it's one of Roman Reigns' better matches in terms of singles matches, so it goes into the island of relevancy for me. Next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Edge at Money in the Bank 2021. And buckle in, because this may have just been the most overbooked Roman Reigns singles match of his entire career, because the match itself was fine. Like, I'd probably put it into the Usi category, but then it gets overbooked with Seth Rollins getting involved and attacking Edge, and then of course the great moment at the very end with John Cena returning from that hiatus to challenge Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. It just felt like Edge really truly was just an afterthought throughout all of this, which made the 25 minutes of the match feel irrelevant, because the last 2-3 minutes really made Edge, you reminded us that Edge was never truly a contender to begin with, unfortunately. So we will be putting Money in the Bank versus Edge into the not very Usi category. Next up, we have Roman Reigns versus John Cena at SummerSlam 2011. And in terms of grandioseness, this may, at that moment in time, have been Roman Reigns' first really, truly big match, big ticket event. This had a huge match feel, and there were a lot of people that genuinely believed that John John Cena could beat Roman Reigns. As big as a John Cena fan as I was, I just couldn't believe that Roman Reigns was going to lose to a part-timing John Cena. But still, their match was a lot of fun. Like, they both have a lot of limitations in the ring, and even with their limitations, for whatever reason, these two just have really, really good chemistry. The last 10 minutes of this match is a crazy spot fest, finisher fest, 2.99 count fest. You really genuinely thought that there was a moment with the Avalanche AA that John Cena was going to put away Roman Reigns. Of course, Roman always kicks out. This match is a lot of fun. Again, limitation between these two because neither of them are like the most fantastic in-ring workers, but the grandioseness of the match really gives it that extra Usi feel, so I'm gonna put this in Usi. And oh god, next we have Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor at Extreme Rules. And this is stupid. And it's a shame because Roman Reigns and Finn Balor have great in-ring chemistry. Whenever they're in the ring together, they put on fantastic matches. But for whatever reason, the WWE decided to go with the supernatural tale of the demon being brought back to life with the heartbeats of, I don't know, Satan or whatever the hell it was, only to be beaten because the top rope broke when he was about to do a coup de grace, and we're supposed to believe that it was God helping Roman Reigns. Nah, this was stupid in every sense of the word. Ocean of obscurity. Next up, we have arguably the worst Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar match, a Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar Universal Championship at Crown Jewel 2021. And this was just a slow affair. It really felt like both of these guys were just there to clock in, clock out. Arguably the worst Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match that they've ever had, sadly. And they've had a lot. They've had a lot, and you'll see there's quite a few more Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar matches left to go in this list, but this is easily my least favorite. This goes into not very Usi. And next up, we have the first time that Roman Reigns truly, genuinely felt vulnerable. Roman Reigns versus Seth freaking Rollins at the 2022 Royal Rumble for the Universal Championship. And I love this match. The presentation of it with Roman Reigns waiting in the ring, only to see Seth Rollins come out to the Shield music in Shield gear, coming through the fans. Seth Rollins was the master of mind games at this moment, and he was on top of his game. The match was a lot of fun. These two have fantastic chemistry. The only downside was that it ended in a disqualification, but even then, that disqualification in hindsight made a lot of sense to me. Like, in terms of the reason why he did it, I think it was a brilliant reason. Like, oh my god, I can't put Seth Rollins away, so chairs and a disqualification is my only option here. I think that this was fantastic. This goes into Island of Relevancy for me. Next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Goldberg at Elimination Chamber, Ocean of Obscurity. Okay, any detractors? Anyone disagree? Okay, we can move on. Next up, we have the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time. That's how they were advertising it. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Shocker again, but this time for both titles on the line. Roman Reigns' Universal Championship and Brock Lesnar's WWE Championship in a winner-take-all match. And this I also didn't like. This was very, very rushed. The choreography felt like, I don't know, it felt like it was written in like 5 minutes. Hey, I hit the spear, you hit this, you hit that, F5, kick out, spear, I win. I don't know, like it was one of the more underwhelming matches of that WrestleMania, and yeah, it just doesn't live up to many of other Roman Reigns matches that he's had. I don't think it's as bad as, like, say, the match against the Demon or Goldberg, but it was definitely one of the most underwhelming matches based on the stage and the stakes that were there. To me, this goes into not very Usi. All right, so we just did two Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns matches that I didn't love, but now let's go to a Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match that I absolutely thought was fantastic in Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, last man standing match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. We all really struggled to say the name at the time, but this match was fucking awesome. This is the match where it felt like both of these guys were having a lot of fun. They were both going at it at like a 10,000 miles an hour. Brock Lesnar coming out in full cowboy gear with a tractor, flips over the ring. We have so many shenanigans with even then Paul Heyman taking an F5. We have the Usos getting destroyed. We have Austin Theory getting wrecked. Like, it is an overbooked mess towards the end, but by the time that it becomes overbooked, the ring is already flipped over, so who the hell cares? Let it be overbooked. And even the overbooked nature of this match actually added to it. Normally I think it takes away from it, but I thought that this was brilliant. This was a tremendous amount of fun. This is one of Roman Reigns' most entertaining, not just like title defenses. This is like one of his most entertaining matches ever. This goes into head of the table. And I think that this started a stretch of fantastic Roman Reigns matches, with the next one being Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre in Clash at the Castle out of Wales. And again, this is for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. I'm done saying the name of that title, but this match fucks, dude. It's so good. This is Roman Reigns' best match. I still think that it is Roman Reigns' best match. Drew McIntyre had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. He had it won, but the debut of Solo Sikoa, and again, I'm okay with the slightly overbooked nature of this because it added another layer to the great storyline that was the Bloodline by introducing the enforcer Solo Sikoa. But even before all of that, this match was so good. It was to me, it was a 5-star classic with the hard-hitting nature of the match. Roman Reigns talking his trash at the camera. Drew McIntyre looking like $1 million and almost winning the damn thing. This is one that is worth rewatching. This goes once again into head of the table. And then we go to the circus show that everybody thought was going to be stupid, but I thought was fantastic. Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul for the Universal Championship. On WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. Yeah, you guys get the name of the title at this point, at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. And again, this match fucks. This is the match that I really believe everybody came out saying like, oh my God, like Logan Paul is actually like really good at this. Now, mind you, none of us thought that Logan Paul was going to win this. Like literally there was like 0% chance that Logan Paul was going to win this, but there were numerous moments throughout this match that made us believe otherwise. This match is a tremendous amount of fun. Of course, we have the Usos getting involved, but then we have Jake Paul coming out. We have the guys from Impulsive getting wrecked. This is a tremendous amount of fun. Both of these guys just had fantastic chemistry with one another. I think Roman Reigns' hard-hitting bruiser style versus Logan Paul's combination of heavyweight, but also being able to do high flyer stuff meshed like super well, and it led to a real treat of a match. To me, this goes into Island of Relevancy. Next up, we have, to me, a disappointment, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens at yet again another Royal Rumble. I think they faced each other off at 3 Royal Rumbles in their career, which is kind of nutty, but this was, to me, a bit of a letdown. The thing is that the match itself really just served as a catalyst for the ending, which is the turning of Sami Zayn against the Bloodline. So really what people remember from this show isn't this match, it's what happens after the match. And I think the WWE booked it in such a way knowing that people weren't going to remember this match, people were going to remember the segment that happened immediately after the match. And the match was slow, it was boring, it was a little bit too methodical and too surgical at points, with Roman Reigns maybe being a little bit too slow with his movesets, and we start seeing this later on with the methodical nature of his matches, but they usually build to something. This one never built to anything. All it did was build to the Sami Zayn moment after the match. So to me, this match was not very oozy. And next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber in Montreal in front of a crowd that is 100% fully behind Sami Zayn. This crowd added so many layers to this match. This match is great. Aside from the crowd being hot from beginning to end, booing Roman Reigns out of the goddamn building and treating Sami Zayn like the local hero that he is, these two guys had a fantastic physical bout, but also told a beautiful in-ring story that I'm never going to forget. I think this is one that is worth rewatching. I think this may be a top 5 Roman Reigns match of all time, and certainly a top 5 in this list that we're looking at here. This is worth a rewatch. This is absolutely a head of the table match. And next up, we have the WrestleMania 39 match, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, where Cody Rhodes is trying to finish the story. Now, mind you, I've talked a little bit about how sometimes Roman Reigns matches get overbooked at the end, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And this is I believe a situation where I don't think that it worked. We have Roman Reigns beating Cody Rhodes in what honestly was a fantastic match, but then the last 5 minutes, like 8 guys get involved. I am talking the rest of the bloodline, Solo, both the Usos. We have Paul Heyman getting involved. We have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens involved, and there's just too much going on, and it took away from the fantastic match that they were putting on. They were honestly on their way to putting on an all-time WrestleMania classic, and I still think that it is an all-time WrestleMania classic, so it's still going to go at head of the table, but it's on the lower end of head of the table because of just, it got too ridiculous at the end. It really genuinely did. We were looking for every reason to not give Cody Rhodes the win, and they thought of the most overbooked way of doing it, which is getting 6 other guys involved. I didn't love the ending, but the match itself, truly, when we only had Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes in there, was a fucking banger. Head of the table. And then to me, we have a major disappointment in the most recent PLE title defense, Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso at SummerSlam 2023 for the WWE, say it with me, Undisputed Universal Championship. And this just did not have the same magic as the match at Clash at the Castle or even the match at Hell in a Cell. This was too slow, and it made no sense as well, because we were supposed to believe that this is tribal combat, you know, no rules, but also no interference. But fuck it, because we're gonna have interference anyway. Like, it was a bit nonsensical in terms of why this was called tribal combat. Like, why wasn't this this is just a no disqualification match. Calling it tribal combat, all it did was confuse the audience even more. But the reason I didn't like this is because for what felt almost an entire third of the match, this was just a 2-on-1. Like, it really was just a handicap match between Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa. It was, oh my God, it was tedious. And also the surprise at the end of Jimmy Uso turning on Jey, to me, is still absolutely nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense in terms of storyboarding, right? I've been trying to tell people that this doesn't make sense because the Bloodline storyline has always been a dynamic storyline that gives hints and gives us reasons as to why things happen. Look at the Sami Zayn turn. That makes sense. We can look back at everything that happened to Sami Zayn and we can say that's the reason why he did that to Roman Reigns. But we can't do that to the Jimmy Uso turn because it was a reactionary decision. So now basically a reactionary decision is when you make the decision and then after the fact you justify it, and that's not good storytelling. I'm sure they'll do a great job of justifying it, but you can't give me a good reason as to why Jimmy would turn on his brother the same way I can give you a much better reason as to why Sami Zayn turned on Roman Reigns. I digress. I didn't like this. Not very Usi. Get out of here.